Okay, I have to start this deep dive with a question that, honestly, has probably caused a few arguments in your living room, or at least a confused glance or two during a Super Bowl commercial break.
Mm-hmm.
When you see those four letters, V-R-B-O, how do you actually say them in your head?
Ah, yes. It is the great pronunciation debate of the last decade. It's sort of the GIF versus G of the travel industry.
Right, because for the longest time, I was strictly a V-R-B-O person.
Hmm.
It's an acronym. You spell it out. It stands for something very specific.
It did.
But then, almost overnight, it felt like the entire world and, all the commercials on my TV started saying Vrbo.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like someone changed the rules of the English language when I wasn't looking.
Well, effectively, they did change the rules, or at least the massive corporation behind the name decided to rewrite the dictionary for their own benefit.
Okay.
And honestly, that confusion, that shift from saying the letters to saying a smooth, marketable word is actually the perfect entry point for what we're talking about today.
So it's not just semantics.
Not at all. I mean, that shift represents a fundamental change in the business model. It represents the move from a clunky, kind of functional tool for homeowners to a sleek lifestyle brand for mass consumers.
Wow.
It mirrors the shift from the early internet to the platform economy that dominates our lives today.
That is exactly what we are here to unpack. We are talking about the platform officially known as of 2019 anyway, as Vrbo.
As Ver-boh, yes.
And while you might think of it just as that app you use to book a beach house in Florida or a cabin in the Smokies, this story is so much bigger.
It really is.
We're talking about a company that started with a guy in a garage in 1995 trying to rent a single ski condo and ended up being a multi-billion-dollar piece of the Expedia Group empire.
It is a fascinating trajectory. It's a case study in scaling. You have the humble beginnings, the massive acquisitions, the rebrands, but you also have the darker side of the platform economy that we really need to scrutinize today.
Oh, we are going there. We have to talk about the controversies. We've got stacks of documents here, corporate history, details on their tech integration, reports on lawsuits, and some pretty hairy customer service nightmares that happened during the pandemic.
Yeah, we're going to look at the fights over refunds, the really unsettling stories about safety and hidden cameras, and the massive legal battles with major cities like Los Angeles.
Our mission today is to trace the evolution of the vacation rental market through the lens of this one pioneer. We want to understand, how did we get from a single ski condo in Colorado to a global giant that's reshaping neighborhoods?
And crucially, what happens when that by-owner spirit, which is literally what the name stood for, gets swallowed up by a massive corporate machine?
Right.
Does the soul of the project survive the spreadsheet?
So let's fire up the time machine. We are going back to the dial-up days. The year is 1995.
A very different internet landscape. I mean, no Google, no Facebook. Amazon was just selling books.
Completely. And we are in Aurora, Colorado. I want you to meet David Kloss. He's a programmer. And like a lot of people in Colorado, he has a specific enviable problem. He owns a condo at the Breckenridge Ski Resort.
Not a bad problem to have.
No, not at all. But he wants to rent it out. He's not living there 2047. Now, think about 1995. If you wanted to rent out a vacation home, what did you actually do?
It was an analog world. You put a classified ad in a newspaper, maybe the Denver Post or a skiing magazine. Maybe you nailed a physical flyer to a bulletin board at the ski lodge near the lift line.
Right. It was high friction. You had to wait for someone to see the paper, call you on a landline. Maybe you'd, fax them a contract?
Exactly. It was slow, your reach was tiny, and it was incredibly inefficient. And Klaus, being a programmer, looks at this emerging thing called the World Wide Web and sees a way to cut through all that noise.
He builds a website specifically to list his Breckenridge condo, and he calls it Vacation Rentals by Owner, hence the acronym VRBO.
And we have to pause on that name for a second. Vacation Rentals by Owner?
Yeah.
It wasn't a brand name like Yahoo or Google. It was a literal description of the transaction.
It does exactly what it says on the tin.
Right. And that specificity is important. It implies a direct relationship. It's not vacation rentals by a corporation.
No.
It's by owner. It suggests a handshake deal, even if it's digital.
And this leads us into the garage phase of the story. It's classic startup lore. He builds it for himself just to solve his own headache. But then what happens?
Other homeowners see it. They see that Klaus is actually getting bookings, and they say, hey, I've got a cabin in Vail, or I've got a beach house in the Outer Banks. Can I put my place on your website too?
And it creates this snowball effect.
It really does. And what's interesting here is the speed of adoption, especially considering this is before social media viral loops.
Yeah.
It was just word of mouth. By 2006, just over a decade later, the site had over 465,000 rental listings.
That number is staggering for that era.
Mm.
And the source material says that by 2006, they were adding 100 new listings per day.
That really speaks to the pent-up demand. You have to realize there were hundreds of thousands of second homeowners across America who had these valuable assets, these houses, sitting empty for 40 weeks a year.
Right.
They were bleeding money on mortgages and HOA fees.
And suddenly, Klaus hands them a global storefront.
Exactly. But I want to spend a moment on the business model here, because this is really important for understanding how the industry has changed.
Okay.
In the early days, Vrbo operated on a subscription model.
Okay, let's unpack that. How is that different from what we see today?
So, in a subscription model, the homeowner pays an annual fee to list their property. Let's say it was, I don't know, $300 a year.
Sure.
You pay Vrbo $300, and in exchange, you get a page on the site with your photos and your phone number. That's it.
So it's basically a digital classified ad.
Precisely. Vrbo was selling shelf space. They weren't involved in the transaction. When a traveler booked your place, they sent the check to you. They paid you.
Not to Vrbo.
Vrbo didn't touch the money. They didn't take a commission on the nightly rate. They didn't process the payment.
That feels almost nostalgic. It's very old internet. It's clean. You know, you pay for the service, you get the service.
Yeah.
The incentives are aligned around visibility, not around squeezing every percentage point out of the booking.
It was a very pure marketplace. It was simply a conduit connecting you to the owner. And because of that, it fostered a specific kind of culture. It felt like a community of owners. We are all in this together.
But as we know, in the tech world, that kind of slow, steady, honest subscription revenue is nice.
It's nice.
But it's not usually what attracts the sharks.
No. Subscription revenue is linear. Transactional revenue taking a cut of every dollar that flows through the system, that is exponential.
And that's where the money is.
And that brings us to the end of the garage phase. The sharks began to circle.
Enter segment 2, the acquisition ladder. This is where the story shifts from local programmer does good to high-stakes corporate chess.
The first big move happens in 2006. Vrbo is acquired by HomeAway.
Now, for those who don't remember HomeAway, who were they in the grand scheme of things?
HomeAway was basically the roll-up king. Their entire strategy was consolidation.
What do you mean by that?
They saw all these fragmented vacation rental sites, Vrbo, Cyber Rentals, Great Rentals, all these little independent operations, and they said, if we buy them all, we control the market.
So Vrbo loses its independence in 2006, but it's still operating somewhat distinctly.
Yes. It's a brand within a portfolio. The name is still there. The website still looks familiar to its users. But the water is getting warmer.
Okay.
Because while HomeAway is consolidating the traditional market, a little startup in San Francisco called Airbnb is starting to make waves.
The disruptor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Airbnb proved that people would stay in anything. An air mattress, a spare room, a treehouse. They completely changed the game.
Yeah.
And the big travel giants, the Expedias, the Booking.coms, they are watching this happen with growing anxiety. They are realizing that hotels are no longer the only game in town.
And they need to own the alternative. They can't let this whole other market just grow without them.
Which leads us to the real seismic shift. The moment that turned this into the beast we know today. November 4th, 2015.
I got the date right here. This is when the big fish swims into the pond and swallows the medium fish. The Expedia Group.
A giant in the travel industry. They own Hotels.com, Orbitz, Travelocity, pretty much everything you can think of.
And they announced they are acquiring HomeAway, which of course includes our friend Vrbo.
Yep.
And the price tag, hold on to your hats, folks, $3.9 billion.
Billion with a B. That transaction closed in early 2016. And I think it's important to contextualize why Expedia would spend nearly $4 billion on this.
Yeah, why? That seems like an astronomical amount for a collection of rental websites.
Because they saw the writing on the wall. They needed inventory. They needed those 465,000 homes. They needed to own the alternative accommodation market to protect their dominance in travel.
So if they don't buy them,
If they didn't buy HomeAway, someone else would, or Airbnb would just crush them. It would be an existential threat to their hotel business.
so it's a defensive move as much as an offensive one.
Absolutely. So Vrbo goes from being a subscription site for ski condos to being a jewel in the crown of one of the world's largest travel corporations.
And once you are owned by a giant like Expedia, the pressure to streamline and brand build changes everything.
Everything.
Which leads us back to that pronunciation debate we started with.
The great pivot of 2019.
Talk us through this. Why change the name? Why change the vibe? What was the thinking here?
So Expedia looks at its portfolio. They have HomeAway, they have Vrbo, they have all these other little brands they acquired over the years.
It's a mess.
It's a mess, and they decide, this is too confusing. We are splitting our marketing budget 10 ways. We need one horse to ride.
And they looked at the data and chose Vrbo.
They did. In May 2019, they announced they were retiring the HomeAway brand, which, remember, they spent billions acquiring too, focused entirely on Vrbo as their primary vacation rental brand.
But not just VRBO. They gave it a total makeover.
A total rebrand. New logo, new capitalization. It's now Vrbo, capital V, lowercase RBO.
Right.
And the official decree on pronunciation, it is Vrbo.
I feel like there was a meeting room somewhere where a marketing exec stood up and said, VRBO sounds like a government agency. It sounds like you're filing taxes.
It kind of does.
Vrbo sounds like a friend.
That is almost certainly the logic. Vrbo is a word. It's approachable. It sounds like a verb. Let's Vrbo a place for the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
You can't really do that with let's VRBO a place. It just doesn't roll off the tongue.
It's stickier. And they put serious muscle behind this, didn't they? I mean, we're talking Super Bowl money.
Huge money. This wasn't a soft launch. In 2022, they teamed up with the ad agency Whedon plus Kennedy.
That's the Nike agency. Just do it.
The heavy hitters. They produced a spot called A Place for Together. It aired during the Super Bowl pregame.
Oh, I remember this. It had that song from the Muppets. Is that
Yeah.
right? Yes. Right Where I Belong from the Muppets Take Manhattan.
That is top-tier emotional manipulation right there.
Yeah.
Using Kermit the Frog nostalgia to sell rental bookings, that is genius.
It creates a warm, fuzzy association. It frames the brand not as a transactional website, but as a facilitator of family connection.
Absolutely.
The ad is all about families reuniting, kids running around, grandparents smiling. It's saying, hotels separate you. Vrbo brings you together.
A place for together. It's a powerful tagline.
And they didn't stop there. In that same year, 2022, they became the title sponsor of the Fiesta Bowl.
So now we have the Vrbo Fiesta Bowl. That is mainstream. You don't get more mainstream than college football bowl games.
Exactly. This is Expedia saying, we are not a niche site for ski bums anymore. We are a major consumer brand alongside Coke and Ford and Budweiser.
But here's the thing that really gets me. As they are polishing the outside of the car with Muppet songs and football games, they're also completely rebuilding the engine, right?
They are, and this is the under the hood segment of our deep dive. If you are a user, you might just see a new logo and a catchy jingle. But if you are a host, or if you follow the tech industry, the changes were profound and, frankly, a little disturbing for the old school users.
We're talking about the one key era.
Yes, this happened recently in 2023. Expedia launched a unified loyalty program called One Key.
Explain that for the listeners who might just book a flight once a year and not pay attention to the points. Why is this a big deal?
So traditionally, these loyalty programs were siloed. You had your hotel points, your airline miles.
Right.
One Key unifies Expedia, Hotels.com, and Vrbo. This is significant because it turns Vrbo from a standalone rental site into just another cog in the massive travel ecosystem.
How does it work practically?
You can book a cheap motel on Hotels.com for a business trip, earn something they call One Key cash, and then spend that cash on a Vrbo villa in Tuscany.
That sounds great for the consumer, honestly.
Yeah.
Flexibility is good. Who doesn't want free money towards a vacation?
Convenience-wise, yes, it's a win, but philosophically, it represents the final step of platform consolidation.
What do you mean by that?
It commoditizes the homes. A unique historic home in New Orleans is now just another inventory unit, interchangeable with a chain hotel room in terms of earning and burning points.
It flattens the market. It takes away the uniqueness.
Exactly. And in 2023, they also migrated Vrbo's consumer front end onto the brand Expedia technology stack.
Okay, technology stack is a bit of a buzzword. What does that actually mean for the experience?
It means the unique code, the unique architecture that David Klaus and his successors built, it's effectively gone.
Wow.
Vrbo is now running on the same engine as Expedia. It's a skin on the same database.
So when I search on Vrbo, I'm basically searching Expedia with a different color palette.
More or less. It signifies that there is no going back to the independent days. It is fully integrated.
It's like when a local coffee shop gets bought by a chain.
Hmm.
They might keep the old sign out front that says Dave's Coffee, but the beans, the espresso machine, and the employee handbook are all corporate standard issue now.
That is a perfect analogy. And usually when that happens, policies get standardized too.
Right.
And that brings us to the most contentious part of recent history, because you can have all the Super Bowl ads you want, but when a crisis hits, that's when you see what a company is really made of.
We have to talk about COVID-19.
The pandemic was the ultimate stress test for the travel industry, and frankly, it broke a lot of things.
I think we all remember the chaos of March 2020. It feels like a bad dream now, but remember that week. Borders closing, flights grounded, everyone panicking.
Complete chaos.
If you had a vacation booked, you wanted your money back, period. You weren't thinking about terms and conditions. You were thinking about survival.
And this is where we see a stark divergence in strategy between the major players. On one side, you had Airbnb and TripAdvisor.
Okay.
When the lockdowns hit, they made a controversial but very consumer-friendly decision.
What did they do?
They invoked their extenuating circumstances policies. They forced property owners to offer full refunds to travelers.
Forced being the operative word there. I remember hosts were furious because that money was gone from their account.
Oh, they were livid.
Some of them had already spent it on mortgage payments.
It was a brutal decision for hosts. But for the traveler, it was a relief. Airbnb prioritized the guest's trust and safety over the host's income. They decided the brand reputation with travelers was paramount.
But Vrbo took a very different path.
According to the sources, Vrbo did not mandate refunds.
No. So what did he say?
Tough luck.
They leaned heavily on that buy-owner legacy. They said, look, we are just the marketplace. We are the venue. The contract is between you, the guest, and the host.
Uh-oh.
So they left it up to the guests and hosts to, quote, work out the details.
Work out the details. In the middle of a global plague. That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It was. It led to absolute chaos. You had travelers who had paid thousands of dollars for a beach house they legally couldn't travel to because of state border closures, and the host was saying, sorry, my cancellation policy says no refunds within 30 days. Tough luck.
That is infuriating.
Yeah.
I can see why people were angry. If I paid $3,000 for a trip I can't take because the government says I can't leave my house, and the platform says, talk to the guy who owns it, and the guy says, no, I'm going to lose my mind.
The backlash was immediate and fierce.
Yeah.
There were calls on Twitter to boycott Vrbo. People were calling it theft.
Yeah.
And Vrbo was stuck in the middle, trying to maintain their buy-owner philosophy, which is, we don't interfere in the contract, in the situation where that philosophy felt incredibly callous.
Did they do anything to mitigate it? Or just let it burn?
They tried to nudge people. They prohibited hosts from downplaying the COVID risks. You couldn't say, oh, it's just the flu, come anyway.
Okay, that's something.
And they offered rewards like better search placement to hosts who did give refunds, but they wouldn't force the money back.
It's interesting because it highlights the risk of that buy-owner model we talked about earlier. When things are good, buy-owner feels personal. Oh, I'm renting from Dave. He's a nice guy.
Right.
When things are bad, you realize you don't have a corporate safety net. You're just arguing with Dave.
Exactly. And it seems Vrbo eventually realized that this stance damaged their brand. Because if we fast forward to 2024, 4 years later, policy evolution occurred.
Better late than never.
Perhaps. In 2024, Vrbo finally added a policy for unforeseen large-scale travel disruptions.
Okay, so what does that cover? Another pandemic, a hurricane.
Under this new rule, if Vrbo decides a situation qualifies, like a hurricane or another pandemic, hosts must issue refunds regardless of their cancellation rules.
So they finally adopted the Airbnb approach, effectively.
They tighten the leash. They realize that you cannot leave large-scale disruptions up to individual negotiation. It breaks the trust in the platform too severely.
Right.
You can't have a Super Bowl ad about togetherness and then let your customers get fleeced during a crisis.
Speaking of trust, this transitions us perfectly to the next segment. Because COVID wasn't the only time users felt like the platform left them out in the cold. We need to talk about the Book with Confidence guarantee.
This is a major marketing pillar for them. You see the badge everywhere. Book with confidence, it sounds great. It suggests that if something goes wrong, Vrbo has your back.
But the sources suggest that guarantee might have some holes in it.
Serious holes. There is a specific case study in the reporting involving a villa in Ibiza.
Oh, Ibiza, the party capital. But this wasn't a party, was it?
No. A customer lost £6,000. That's nearly $8,000.
That is a life-altering amount of money for a vacation budget.
Hey.
What happened?
The property owner disappeared. Just vanished. The customer arrived on the island, luggage in hand, ready for the villa, and nothing.
Nothing.
No keys, no owner. The address might not have even been the right place.
A scam, a pure scam.
Effectively. Now, usually in the modern world, you think, okay, call the credit card company, charge back, goods and services not received.
Right, that's standard. That's why we use credit cards,
Yeah.
for that protection.
But the credit card issuer wouldn't help. Why? Because the payment went to an agent Vrbo rather than directly to the host in a way that fit their protection criteria. It was a technicality regarding how the funds flowed.
Oh, that's a nightmare. So the customer turns to Vrbo and says, "Hey, book with confidence right. I have been scammed."
And what did Vrbo say?
"I'm afraid to ask."
They dismissed the claim. They cited that it was a matter between the host and the renter.
Wait. How can you have a book with confidence guarantee and then say, "Hey, figure it out yourselves," when the host literally disappears with $6,000? That feels deceptive.
That is the platform defense. It's the legal shield these companies use. They argue in court that they are merely a bulletin board. They aren't the hotelier. They aren't the landlord. They are just the connector.
So they take a fee for connecting you, but they're not responsible for what happens after.
They take the fee for the connection, but they disavow the result of the connection.
But when you are owned by Expedia and running those glossy ads, that defense rings very hollow to a consumer who just lost their vacation fund.
It creates a massive dissonance, and Trustpilot reviews suggest this isn't an isolated incident. There are patterns of people feeling like the guarantee is more of a marketing slogan than an insurance policy.
But money is one thing. Losing money hurts. But there are things that are scarier than losing money. We need to talk about the privacy lawsuits.
This is the stuff of nightmares. This is where the stranger's home aspect gets really dark.
In 2022, there were lawsuits filed regarding hidden cameras. And we aren't talking about a Ring doorbell on the front porch to check for package thieves.
No. We are talking about cameras found in private areas. Living rooms.
Okay.
Bedrooms.
Oh, no. That makes my skin crawl.
It's horrifying. The reports mention that police actually found images of undressed guests on homeowners' computers.
I don't even know what to say to that. It completely shatters the illusion of privacy. You go to a rental to relax, to be intimate, to be with your family. The idea that someone is watching.
And this brings up a crucial structural difference between a hotel and a vacation rental. A hotel is a highly regulated public space.
Right.
There are professional staff, there are security protocols, there is strict corporate oversight. If a Marriott put a camera in a bedroom, the CEO would be on CNN apologizing within an hour.
But a vacation rental.
It's just someone's house. You are sleeping in a stranger's house.
Yeah.
And while 99.9% of hosts are decent people, the platform model relies on decentralized inventory.
Wow.
Vrbo cannot inspect every single bedroom for a pinhole camera. It is physically impossible.
They can't. They have 2 million listings, so you are rolling the dice on the ethics of the homeowner.
And when that roll goes wrong, the consequences are severe. These lawsuits highlight that risk. It challenges the entire premise of the home sharing economy. Is the comfort of a home worth the risk of amateur security and privacy violations?
That is a heavy question. And it's not just guests asking questions. It's cities, governments. This brings us to the regulatory wars.
This was inevitable. You cannot drop thousands of unregulated hotel rooms into residential neighborhoods without the local government eventually waking up and getting angry.
And Los Angeles decided to pick a fight.
Big time. In 2022, the city of Los Angeles sued Vrbo.
What was the specific charge?
Non-compliance with rental laws. Specifically, LA has a short-term rental ordinance. They require hosts to register with the city to prevent party houses and to protect housing stock for actual residents.
Right. You need a permit number to list your home.
You do. And the city accused Vrbo of allowing hosts to use the platform without that registration, effectively facilitating illegal businesses.
And what did the data say? Was it a small problem?
City Attorney Mike Fuhr was very aggressive on this. He claimed that, get this, 29% of bookings in a recent 30-day period appeared to violate city rules.
Nearly a third.
Nearly a third. Imagine if a third of the cars on the road didn't have license plates. That is a regulatory failure.
And this highlights the ongoing tension between platform capitalism and municipal governance.
Always. Uber did it. Airbnb did it. Vrbo is doing it. Their business model relies on frictionless growth.
And regulation is friction.
Regulation is friction, so they often ignore it or fight it until they are sued into compliance. The LA lawsuit is just one battle in a global war over who gets to control our neighborhoods, the people who live there or the platforms that monetize them.
It's fascinating how we started this conversation talking about a guy in Colorado just wanting to rent his ski condo. It seemed so innocent.
It was innocent, that's the garage phase. But once you inject billions of dollars in corporate imperatives, the incentives change completely.
So let's zoom out. We've gone from 1995 to the present day. We've seen the tech changes, the rebrands, the scandals. What is the big takeaway here?
For me, the big picture is about the trade-offs of the platform economy. We as consumers gained access to 465,000 plus homes. We can stay in a castle in France or a cabin in the Rockies with a few clicks. That is a miracle of technology.
It is. I love that access. I use it all the time.
But we inherited the risks. We inherited the risk of dealing with individual owners regarding refunds. We inherited the privacy risks of staying in unregulated spaces. And we inherited the community destabilization that comes with turning homes into hotels.
It's not a free lunch.
It never is.
And as we wrap up, I want to leave the listeners with a thought to chew on. We talked about how Vrbo is now fully integrated into Expedia tech stack, loyalty program, everything.
Yes.
As platforms like Vrbo integrate deeper into these massive corporate stacks, do they lose that buy-owner spirit that started in 1995? And does that distance, that corporate insulation, make them less accountable for what actually happens inside the homes they list?
That is the multi-billion-dollar question. If you are just an algorithm matching a buyer and a seller, can you wash your hands of the result?
Yeah.
Or does the brand imply a promise of safety that they are failing to keep?
Something to think about the next time you are scrolling through listings, dreaming of that beach getaway. Is it Vrbo? Is it VRBO? Or is it just a giant database that doesn't really care who you are?
A cynical, but perhaps accurate place to end.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one. Safe travels.